pardon the stuffed animals behind me. I'm in the room that I share with my son. My husband and I share a room with our son in an apartment we share with our dad. Or my dad, his father-in-law. I am here to tell you today about how I was diagnosed with DID, dissociative identity disorder, and the effect that has had on my life so far. Kind of like just that variable impact that I've had so far. I will warn you, you're going to see a lot of that. Bucky is kicking the computer, and he's playing around with his toys right now, and every once in a while his feet go flying, and we get a kick. You all see that I only have one hand because the toy he's playing with right now happens to be my hand. So if you don't know anything about me, my name's Hanea. I am an alter. I'm a front. I front more for the system, the system's name is Janelle. My host, I guess. But I front as an alter a lot more often than most. And I have a son and a husband. And we live in northern Colorado, and I have DID. I'm a mom with DID. And this is kind of our story, figuring out how to be a mom and take care of our son. You'll hear me refer to myself as our, we, us. I don't normally just say me, I normally say we. That was actually one of the first signs I had of DID, which is funny because I didn't even realize I was saying it, and my psychologist called me out on it. He said, "Why do you keep saying we? You never use singular first person. You always say us, ourselves. I don't say myself, I say ourselves. Instead of saying me, I say us, we, the system." And I would even say the system, and he'd be like, "What? Why are you saying these things?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." So I was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder about a month after I turned 17 in January of 2016. I was actually diagnosed on the first of the year. I was in a behavioral treatment center. What's funny is I didn't actually know I had DID. I was never told until I went back to the care facility about 8 months later, and I was told, "Oh, well, you actually don't have just PTSD. You have dissociative identity disorder. They didn't tell you that." And I said, "Oh, I saw DID on my chart. They give you a chart of what you're diagnosed with when you go home." And I said, I never, what's the word I'm looking for? I thought it was like part of this chart, part of the, an acronym for a doctor, not really an acronym for a diagnosis. So I actually have had DIDs for now almost 3 years. We're coming up on 3 years in January. At that time, I had no idea of any alters. The only person I knew I could talk to was Janelle, which is the system host. Hi, Bucky. Yeah, is my hand getting boring for you, little man? Is the system host. She was the only one I could speak to. And I didn't even realize I was speaking to a different person. I just thought I was kind of talking to, the angel and devil on my shoulder is how I kind of put it. So in August, when I was diagnosed with DID, fully, when I found out I was diagnosed with DID, I started to read into it, look into it, and it started to make sense who I was, why I was losing so much time in a period. I would lose 15 to 16 hours of my day. I would go to school. At the time I was still I was still in college. I had just graduated high school, and I would go into classes and not know anything. They'd say, "Oh, we talked about this all day yesterday. This was the whole topic," and I'd be like, "What?" And teachers would actually get mad at me, being like, "You should know this. We practiced this. What, were you sleeping? Were you playing on your phone?" I'm like, "No, I don't remember it." And so, you'll hear my dogs too. They're looking at me like, "Hi, you're talking to someone that isn't me, Mom." But yeah, so I had college, I had high school, and it was extremely difficult for me. And so when I was in college, I was able to, the first thing I did after getting out of the health center, I went to my doctor, and I said, "Okay, well, here's the deal, dude. I'm sick. This is what's wrong with me." At that point, I still use those words. Now you won't hear me say what's wrong with me anymore. I actually change that and I say nothing's wrong with you. It's what's right with you. What's different about you. But I was, this is what's wrong with me. This is my disability. I hate that word. I say different ability now. I sound like a freaking I swore myself I would always call it a disability, and then you get it, and I'm like, I'm not disabled. I have really cool abilities to change my personality every couple of minutes when I'm not stressed, but, but yeah, so we were diagnosed, and we started, sorry, I'm actually trying not to alter here, guys. Yeah, so we were diagnosed in, it's alright, Buck. It's alright, Buck. We were diagnosed in, that August, and afterwards with college and everything, we had some time adjusting. We were able to get help from sorry guys. We were able to get help from the, wow, counselors. Sorry guys. We were able to get help from the counselors. It obviously was really hard for Hannah to look into us and to be able to really justify what happened. Like, she was very, very concerned. We were all like, hey, we're here. And she didn't even realize she was an alter at that point. So it took a lot of deep searching. When you search in yourself, a lot of stuff happens. DID people live a lot of different ways that they see or talk or that kind of thing, like that they dissociate. We have a dinner table that we all sit around, and we all live at this dinner table, and that's just kind of how we talk. And that was where we kind of ushered her into, and we were able to introduce her to several of her alters, some of which have reintegrated, but many of which have not. There have even been new alters that have replaced the integrated ones. Our DID has had, I know she wanted to talk about how much of an impact it had on our lives, and it's had a big impact, and most of it's been good. Yes, some of it's hard. We do have a son, but we are completely asexual. We're not sex repulsed all the time, but there are times when we are sex repulsed. We just don't do sex. It's not a big thing to us. So we have Bucky. He was conceived via sex, but it does affect that due to our trauma. Some of the alters have a lot more issues with sex than someone else does. Like, I'm fine with it. Hannah has a lot of problems with it. And that's with everything. It depends on what, even shows that we're watching. Some of us like, some of us don't. Hannah hates movies, I don't. It's that kind of thing. Sorry, as my eyes itch. Yeah, but it's had a pretty big impact on my life, mostly good. We've made a lot of friends. I will never say that we aren't honest about anything. We are completely open and honest, and I think it's just kind of how it goes. Sorry this video's been all over the place. I think this video is probably going to take a whole nother realm to what Hannah actually thought it was going to be. But if you want to hear more from us or see more of this cute little thing, I think my phone's probably going to fall over. Hi! Say hi! Say hi, Buck. Can you say hi to the camera, Buck? If you have any questions, comments, like or subscribe right below. We thank you so much for watching, and I hope you help us to advocate for DID.